Hello, everyone. Kim Victoria here. And I wanted to share with you something that I have actually made for people, a couple of different styles of notepad. And I have found this to be a very fun thing to make. I've used it for myself. I've given them away as gifts. And so I just wanted to create this very simple project. You've probably seen it done before. I have, of course, my own little twist on it. So let's get started. What I have before me that you saw finished a moment ago was I have some pre-cut strips of paper. I have some printer paper in both yellow and white. And these are a couple of simple cards. This one I have the envelope with it. This one I do not, and I have some ideas to go with that. And I have some rubber stamps and I have some ink off camera. So let's get started with the simplest one and we'll branch out from there. Okay, the extra things that you need for this particular project is a paper cutter, or in this case, I tore these, but this has to be straight edges. We'll get to that. But you do need some of these bulldog clips. So that's the one extra thing that you do need. Clothespins don't work. I've tried it. They sort of kind of work, but they'll work. They work with maybe thinner amounts of paper. Something smaller. I have the projects I have here are a little bit thicker. That's not too bad. A clothespin might work, actually. But I do have these bulldog clips, so I use them because they're very, very strong. And just some common PVA adhesive. It could be the Elmer's school glue or any kind of PVA type glue you have. It could be clear. It could be the white that dries clear. It could be actual, you know, PVA adhesive. So I'm just going to use this today. And what I've done here with this one is a good starter is I had all these offcuts and scrappy bits and just some, lined paper from other things and some tea-dyed ledger paper that I don't know, kind of came out messy looking, but and then there's a couple of like book pages that are mostly blank or are blank, some yellow pad, various whatever you have. And of course, you could have paper that has some kind of decoration on it or what have you. So for this one, I just wanted to create something to start with. And it's very important that whatever edge is going to get glued, because these are going to be tear-off pads, tear-off notepads, which of course you can buy in the store, but this is just another way to use offcuts or to create something custom like I'm going to do in a few minutes. But it's very important that this top layer be cut smoothly. You wouldn't want, like what I did with these is I tore them with my metal ruler. So they've got a little bit raggy edges, but this top edge, this has to be very, very smooth and straight. And I had this piece of cardboard. I collect cardboard for this kind of project. And so you really want to tap it down and make sure that it is all very tight and smooth. And because this is a small pad, I'm just going to use these little clips. And to start, I'm putting the clips on just the sides. We're going to put it on the top in a minute, but we start this way. Okay? And then it's very straightforward. All right. I'm just putting a bead of glue across the top. And you can use a brush, obviously. I'm just using my finger for this. So it can be fairly thick. Now remember, PVA adhesive is polyvinyl. It's polyvinyl, so it's a kind of plastic glue. So once you've got that on there, it's all over that top layer of the paper. Then I go in with the clips and they have that little opening in them. So this is something you kind of need to monitor, but you want to get it on there so it squeezes those papers shut. And you just use however many you need to hold that paper down. So we're going to set this aside for a moment. We're going to come back to it, but I want to let that glue set up. We'll start the other one because the other thing I want to say about this particular one is that, well, I mean, it's practical, but if you were going to give this to somebody, it's awfully blah. So we'll come back to this and we'll give it some kind of a nice cover. And you probably already have some ideas because it'd be very simple for us to add like a scrapbook paper or collage paper or something, glue it to the back and have it wrap around. And then, you could make it decorative or whatever, but we'll come back to this. And we need to kind of monitor it because as the glue dries, some of it could have dripped and get stuck to our little clips, and we want to make sure that we can get our clips off without tearing the paper. So let's set that aside. Okay, this next one that I wanted to play with and demonstrate, this one I'm going to do a little differently. So I have this card, and it's a cheerful card, but I wanted to play with this idea of creating a notepad. And I've pulled out a whole bunch of my rubber stamps that have all of these kind of words that match this. So I've got let's see, this one says dream on, and we have wishing your day of smiles. So I'm thinking of decorating this one with rubber stamps, which is a fun thing to do. And I did do this before a couple of times. So I made this notepad. I made a couple of them, one for myself and one for a friend who likes cats just like me, and just did the same thing on all the pieces of paper, used the PVA adhesive across the top, and it made a very fun notepad. So I'm going to do that with this card, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think I've got 20 sheets here of just common 20-pound printer paper, and I'm going to cut it to size, but I'm also going to cut this card in half, and we're going to use the scrapbook paper. So a little bit heavier stuff. So anyway, let me go do all these cuts, and I'll come back and show you how it's all going to go together. Okay, so what I have now is all of that 8.5 by 11 paper. I cut in half. I went ahead and I just made it a half sheet. I could have cut it down to the card size, but instead I took the back off the card, and I'm going to use it on the cover, which is now this piece of scrapbook paper, which is going to be wrapped around like that. And this will be on it, and we'll do some fun stuff with it and on the inside. But first, I found it much easier to stamp these pages while they were loose. It all depends on what you want to do. Now in this one, I just used the same two stamps. And I stamped all the cats, and then I stamped all the little quotes. So that's one way of doing it. On this one, I've got all of these nice sayings stamps. So I am going to stamp all these pages. Each page will have a different word on it, and it will have a different color ink. So I'm just going to go for it because you don't need to see how to do that. And when I get all done, I will be back. Okay, so these are all the stamps I used. And I wound up using my Memories ink because my water-based ones were kind of drying out. So I used a stronger ink. And I stamped them all individually, and I rotated between the different rubber stamps. And you can see that I put them in different locations on the page too. And double stamped, tried different places, and didn't worry about it too much. Just rotated between the stamps and played around with it, moved it around. So the idea was just to create something that was fun to see every time they used whoever uses it, even if it's myself, to see something very positive as I go along through the pad. So now we need to do the same thing we did before, which is make sure that our top is nice and smooth, get our bulldog clips out, and start this way. Or, maybe I want to start this way. So in this case, what I want to do is glue this to this. I do want those to be attached to each other. So let's go ahead and let's do that. I want to make sure that this is aligned with the top. And this is the full 12 inches. I didn't trim anything yet. So I'm not too sure how much the wrap is going to be. Okay, so that's aligned with the top. Now I don't have a side over here, so I'm going to have to be a little tricky with this one. Okay, so everything is nice and smooth up here, which is what we want. So I'm going to kind of do it in 2 stages. We'll go here. And I'm going to hold that very firmly. You want to make sure you get it into the cardboard in the back. That's where the clips come in. Go off the edge a little bit. So now I've got it all the way across. Get the glue off my fingers. All right, what do I think here? Looks pretty good. I'm bringing that up to the top just a little bit more, squeezing it right there at the very top, as close as I can get with the pinch. And you can't see inside, but I can a little bit, and it looks like everything is closed very tightly. So let's set that one aside for a moment. And let's double check our little guy here. Oh yeah, that's coming along nicely. It's drying, and that one is not stuck. And that one was not stuck. And that one was not stuck. And I could put one more on there actually, which I think would be a good idea. There we go. So that's that one. Still got a little more drying to do on that one. So that leaves the third one. So we're going to keep coming. We'll come back. Got to keep you coming back. Okay. So this last one, this is something I did at Christmas. I made for several of my friends Christmas card notepads with the idea that they could use it for their New Year's resolutions. And I didn't make a video, so I'll make a video this coming year because they seemed to really like it. So we'll just do something here with this simple one. It has this really great picture on it. It's blank inside, so it's ready to roll. So now this one, I'm not going to do with glue. This one I'm going to do journal style. So I happen to have some of this yellow paper. And it's a little bit too big, so I'm going to cut it down so that it's going to fit this way and fold it in half. So I'm going to go to all of that folding in half stuff, and I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm ready for my next stage in this. So all I did so far was I folded the pages, and I did use a bone folder, and I've got those ready to go. So I just need to trim them down. So I'm going to make them, well, as close as possible to the same size as the card. I'll grab my pencil, maybe just just a tad shy. I think I'll start with this direction. I'll do it just inside that mark. That'll come in handy for something. And do the same thing over here. Now that we have that, well, you know what comes next. Those of you who have done any kind of journaling or any of that, you see we've got this nice, we've got a nice little booklet here. And I'm going to sew it in. So this one's not glued. This one I'm going to do the sewing. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted to do the blue embroidery floss or the yellow, and I think I'll go with the yellow. Yep, why not? Let's go with the yellow. I like having a little extra. And I have my needle tool, which of course you could use at all. And I'm just going to eyeball it. It's just one basic, this is just a signature. And what I like to do is just put my needle through right away. It holds it in place. And one more. I leave that there. And of course, this is the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And I always find going back in a little bit of the tricky part. Hey, I got in the first time. All right. And let's see. Okay, yeah, there's one on each side. That's what we want. Okay, it's nice and firm. Tie a knot. Okay. So now we have our little book, our little signature in a card. Now, depending on who you're going to give this to, now, nice thing would be to put this under some weight. Depending on who you're going to give this to, you could rubber stamp all the corners. So I'm not going to do that on camera, but I do have this, I do have a kind of a sunshine kind of a stamp. So if I stamp all these corners, that would be really cute. I think that would be fun. And so that would be a really neat thing to do with this. You could put a saying, you could do all kinds of things, of course. This is just giving somebody like a little mini journal. It's really what it is. And the nice thing about this with using a card and and I only used, what did I use? I used 10 sheets of paper folded in half. So there's 20 pages, which equals 40 sides, actually, if you think front, back, front, back, front, back. And it still fits in its original envelope. And then you can mail it. Now, it might take a little extra postage because I think this is more than an ounce. But if you don't want to use the original envelope and you want to get a little fancier, you can use a larger envelope, obviously, and you could add some embellishments. You could make a bookmark that has some beads hanging off of it. You know, all those fun things that you could do. But otherwise, this is just a really simple little single signature journal notepad kind of thing made with a blank greeting card. But it could also be like a happy birthday card or a happy anniversary card or a congratulations card or whatever you want it to be. And you can rubber stamp on this. the whole thing. So let's go back to our other ones. So this is just something that I did at Christmas, and I plan on doing it again because I think it's really fun and it adds an extra gift, kind of a little mini gift with your card. Okay. Okay, I'm ready to finish this little guy. And let's take our little clips off. It's still a little tacky, but that's good because we need to finish it. So I cut a piece of scrapbook paper. It kind of goes with the color of the journal pages and the yellow pages. So it really goes with it pretty well. And the trick here is that we needed to have a nice crease so that when it wraps around, it lays flat. I don't think I want to worry about a closure with this one. And this just happens to be about 6 inches, not quite, but almost. So that works out really well. So what we want is a nice sharp crease. Oh yeah, there's more than enough. Good. Let's make sure we get it all the way down. Just have to cut off a teeny little bit. Now let's see, can we do it this way? I'm just experimenting now. Okay, I kind of have some marks here. So I'm going to crease it down this way. There's a little touch of glue on that, but that's okay. I'm gonna get that next crease started. I could have used my scoring board, but not everybody has a scoring board. I only got mine recently. And I actually found it in a thrift store, and it didn't have its bone folder with it. I went, well, I have a bone folder, so that's fine. I don't need it, but I really like the scoring board. Okay, so now I've got that creased nicely. Now we can put just a little bit more glue on here. We don't have to put quite as much, kind of keep it thin. And of course, press that down really well. And we'll clip it that back on. We'll let it finish drying. And of course, decorate the cover, collage it, do all those fun things, put a big label on it, do something fun. I just wanted to show you the structure, and then your creativity can go wild from there. And I'll be trimming off just that little bit. Probably can do that pretty simple. There we go. And I can glue this to the back. I could glue this to the back or not. Right now it's loose. So that's a decision I can make later. But right now, there is kind of a nifty little notepad. And the neat thing about these notepads versus ones that are sewn in, as I did here, is that if you write on one of these pages and you tear it out, its corresponding page on the other side will fall out. So having something as a notepad glued is really nice because it's so easy that you can really use it as like notepads are used, just that it's so easy to just tear them off. But they're so sturdy that they stay put. So there is that. So that's that one. That's that one. Oh, we're not quite done yet. All right, let's go back to this other one that was glued on top. Now that's not dry yet either, but I think we can go ahead and fiddle with it. So here we have this edge that we need to have it creased going in around so that it's nice and flat. So I'm going to experiment here for a minute. I'm going to go off the table with these clips, they stick out. So I'm going to go off table here. And I want to use the bone folder up against the cardboard back here. And I want to use that as my edge to create a crease. Okay. So now that comes up nicely. Okay. So now that we have that, we need to know how much to crease on here. So I'm just going to give it a little mark. So we're looking at about 1/4 inch. And just to make life easy, I am going to use my folder. Of course, that's tricky because I've got these clamps on here now. Let me see. How shall I do this? Well, if I just line up the top and line up the mark with one of the marks that's on there and I hold it nicely, I think I can finagle that. Oh yes. Oh yes, very, very good. There. You can't really see it, but it did create a nice crease. And there we go. We have ourselves a spine. I can give it a little extra crease. That worked. Okay. All right. And then that just leaves this. So that needs to get cut off. Right. Now the difference here is that this is opening and then, so this one needs some kind of a closure. And we're going to decorate this one. And that's my idea, was to decorate with this card front and glue that down and maybe do something fun around the border. So we need to do that before we close it up, before we put that on. All right. So it's going to go on something like this. And let's see, what shall we use? Actually, I could have used that particular scrapbook paper in back of it, but I had this pink in here and I thought, oh, that's really pretty. And let's see, what have we got over here? I'm just gonna experiment here. Now, once I do it, that's it. I'll be stuck with it. So oh, goodness. Sometimes these cling stamps aren't as clingy as one would like them to be. But I think mostly that'll get covered up. A lot of that's going to get completely covered up. I need to do a little bit more. Yeah, come on, stay put. That's all right. It's not going to show hardly. All right, now, there. And we need to put the edges on it. We need to put edges on it. I didn't think this through very well today. I just wanted to go ahead and make the video. I kind of thought of it and I went, well, wouldn't it be fun to do that? And I didn't think it through entirely. I just decided I would go for it. I'd been putting it off for a few days. Been very busy with other things. It's been a last couple of weeks have been mostly about fixing things. The house has needed some help, which is good. Get that done. There we go. Give the spine a little color, a little extra color. Okay. So now, do I still want to do that? Yeah, why not? Well, let's go ahead and I'm just using the same cherry red that I was using before. It doesn't have to be vintage photo or one of those. Those I really like those, but it doesn't have to be that. It's fun. It isn't fantastic, but it's fun. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and glue it on. Ooh, maybe I should round the corners. No, no, I'm just going to go as is. Just let it be. Let it be. It's just fine. Now, let's see. Now that I've done that, as you can tell, I haven't done a lot of things like this, so I didn't think ahead for a closure. I think what I'm going to need to do is clamp it down with, with the cover on. Woohoo, they got a little stuck. They got a little stuck. I want to make sure I don't glue the cover down. Let's use one that's dry. Clamp down those corners. I could just put it under a weight, but I really need that right now to stay put. So I'm just going to clamp down the corners, give it a little extra time. It's kind of like creating your own composition book, notepad. All right, I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And I finished these. So let's take a look at what we've got here. This is the one I made in the past that has all the same. It's a half sheet, so easy to make and really fun. This one used little scrappy bits, very simple. You could go crazy with your embellishment, of course, and do different sizes. It's just something fun that you can add to a journal or, you know, it's another option. This one came out really cute. This one is sewn, and I did stamp all the corners with that kind of sunshine stamp and put a message back there or not, or I did this as a way of inspiring you to look at other options and try out this gluing method. This one came out nice and flat. I don't have to put a closure on it. It's just ready to go. And of course, you can add stuff in here and, on the back, add a bookmark, whatever you'd like. There is the project for the day. I hope it inspires you. And if you like it, please give me a comment down below. And I appreciate you watching. So have fun with this, and I'll see you in my next video.